What's up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at a video from Jubilee titled Christians versus Ex-Christians. We're going to be taking a look at a girl's response to the prompt about hell. Correction. This prompt isn't about hell, but she does bring up hell. I think there's a different prompt later on in the video regarding hell, but my bad. Back to me. It's a pretty interesting response, and I think a lot of people hold this sentiment, including Christians and non-Christians. Let's get into it.
Well, I get what you're saying because there's a lot of crap in institutional religion, including Christianity. Judging, hypocrisy, abuse. So I get it when people walk away from the church, but don't walk away from Jesus.
100%.
I'll tell
That's
you,
facts.
like a thing I just can't grasp is like, okay, we're born. We didn't ask to be here. We are flawed from the beginning. Life, from a biblical Jesus standpoint, seems like it's one big test that we have to pass. And if we don't, I'm a good person. I think I would go to heaven, but I won't because I can't force myself to believe in Jesus and God.
That's what
That
I don't
sucks.
believe.
So the basic claim from this girl is she doesn't believe in a God who would send quote unquote good people to hell, including herself, just because they don't believe Jesus is Lord. I think you're taking one of two approaches if you make this claim. One, that you do believe in God, but you disagree with the moral law set in place and you disagree that it's good. So you choose to make decisions based on your own subjective morality. And you disagree that God should be sending people to hell, quote unquote, by your own subjective morality. You believe they're good people, including yourself. Well, the first issue I take with that claim is the God you're referring to isn't throwing you in hell. You made that choice on your own. He gave you a lifetime to make the decision whether to humble yourself before the Lord and accept the free gift, salvation, that he decided to give, even though you're incapable of keeping his moral code, which is the most selfless and loving thing God could do. Like, I know you can't keep it. I know you've fallen short, but I'm going to give you this gift, salvation, but you have to trust in me and believe that I'm Lord and create a relationship with me. But you denied the need for God and chose to live by your own desires. And when the earth turns to literal hell, you're not going to have the option to go back and say, wait, I choose God, because that's not love. That's just not choosing hell, which any sane person's going to do or try to do. So you made your purest choice when you had options. The second approach you could be taking is that you don't believe God exists at all because the subjective moral conclusions that you've come to don't align with the moral law from God. So something wrong defined by Christianity per se, you define as good, and they have now fallen short of the glory of God or sinned in the eyes of God, and you think that's morally abhorrent. So you came to these subjective moral conclusions based on your own thought processes. Like, okay, so let's say for the sake of saying that you're God now, where do you draw that line? Who is going to make it into heaven in your eyes? Is it a free-for-all? Is everybody coming? I would argue that you would first try to say that, well, everybody gets to go. But then I'd say, what about that evil person in history that rained hell down on innocent people? You say, oh, well, no, not that person. That person gets cast out. It's like, okay. Or better yet, how about the person who rained down hell on your life? What then? Are you going to choose to forgive them and allow them to live in your heaven? Maybe. But I doubt it. Or the best example of all, what about yourself? Did you ever cross your own line? Do you get to spend eternity in your own heaven? So could you draw that line to where you get into your own heaven, but somebody else is barred? I would argue that's a very impossible line to draw. And if you could do it, I would imagine it would have so many caveats that it would be impossible for anyone to understand, let alone follow. So let's expand it out. Let's say everyone's living to their own subjective morality. Okay, so who's right here? Which moral code do we follow? What do we set as law? Everybody's equal in their own regard. Each subjective moral conclusions hold equal weight to one another. Well, you might say that more popular ideas should hold more weight. Maybe the most popular idea should be plastered as law. Like, yeah. Mob rule didn't exactly create utopian societies in the history of the universe, now did it? That's not going to work. And what happens when everybody's moral conclusions start to change, when they start to bend the knee to their own sin? What happens then? Then it's turned from mob rule to complete anarchy, because everything has to go when you give yourself leeway for all the sins that you commit. So how do we avoid creating a society like that? Okay, well, we're going to have a moral code that's above each and every one of us, that even if we don't see eye to eye with it, we have to humble ourselves before it and go, that's what's good and that's what's evil. It's defined here. I don't get to define it. It's bigger than me. What happens when my desires meet the moral law head on? Like, there's accountability for you. You can't have accountability without a objective moral law that doesn't bend the knee to your desires.